Let's bring in Congressman Russell Fry. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. You sit on House Judiciary Committee, Congressman. I know the August recess has begun for you, but tomorrow is going to be a big day. And you know, as we say goodbye and celebrate the life of Lindsey Graham, your thoughts?
Yeah, Senator Graham was really outsized in his impact, certainly around the world. People remember the big fights both internationally and at home. Some of the key moments, I think, that highlighted his career. But for us in South Carolina, he really was a force. He was renowned for his constituent service. When it came to focusing on South Carolinians and advancing the state, there was no one better than Senator Lindsey Graham at really delivering results for the people back home, whether it was a focus on the Port of Charleston, infrastructure in the upstate. He really had outsized influence, and people leaned on him in a lot of ways. Members of Congress leaned on him for help within their districts. And so he was a dear friend, a statesman for our state, and he's going to, we do miss him. We already miss him.
Well, and certainly this makes it difficult for you and your colleagues, but you, of course, have filed. You are going to be running for the seat that has been left open by the sudden passing of Senator Graham. Also, your colleague, Ralph Norman, he has filed his paperwork. And then Senator Graham's sister, Darlene, she says she wants to run for the full term. She's going to finish out this term, and then she says that she's now, quote, I'm in. She said that in an interview. So talk about the campaign and the shortened campaign to fill the seat. What are your goals here?
Well, I think as we, again, we can never replace Senator Graham, but the question is what happens next. And I think that's in the minds of the voters. It is a very compressed campaign. It's roughly 3 weeks. It's 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks from today, that we would select our nominee in an open Senate primary. For me, I think the state is hungry for a new generation of conservative leadership. We don't just come to Washington and talk about the issues. We actually deliver results. We are in the arena every single day, fighting with President Trump to advance his agenda, fighting alongside him. And so it's I think a great opportunity for South Carolina, looking to the future is who is best equipped to take up the mantle, not only just on the big issues of today, the challenges that the United States faces, but what happens back home in South Carolina. Tremendous momentum right now. We were in West Columbia this weekend and Beaufort doing the Water Festival, and I think people are excited. There's a growing excitement about the candidacy and really an eye to the future of what that could be for the United States Senate. But at the end of the day, people want President Trump to have allies in the Senate particularly, and there's no better ally than a Senator Russell Fry.
Well, certainly, Congressman, we're going to be watching this play out. Again, it's going to be a very compressed time frame, to your point. Now, the House lawmakers did, of course, leave Washington. You're out now on your August recess. It was a jam-packed week. You had a lot of legislative wins. A lot of the president's priorities were passed. You had a framework for reconciliation 3.0, the stock trading ban, the National Defense Authorization Act. Each bill included election integrity with Save America. Kind of a challenging time in the Senate. Now the Senate has got to go to work. And, still it seems that there's a difficult path ahead because of Save America, and that is still really, the votes just aren't there for Leader Thune. What do you want to see the Senate prioritize, and what do you see the path ahead for Save America?
Look, I want the Senate to prioritize all of that. I think these issues are incredibly important. The NDAA is hugely important to our military personnel, to our national security. It's not time for the Senate to play games. This is not a game of what's going on in the world right now. But I'm really proud of the House, because about the time that everybody counts them out that they can't get their stuff together, they do in dramatic fashion. They cobble together really a remarkable week in passing legislation, moving the ball forward. For Save America, though, this is critically important, and I think that pressure, the pressure that the House can lean on the Senate, that the American people are leaning on the Senate. This is so easy. It's not even partisan until you cross the Potomac, and that's what's so shameful about this whole charade, is that everybody wants voter ID. Everybody collectively says that, yeah, you should be a citizen to vote in our elections. Why is that so challenging for the Senate? The House has voted on the Save America Act, I think at this point, 4 or 5 separate times. It's time for the Senate to get on board, too.
Well, 83% of Americans in recent polling say they support having an ID to vote. So what is it, in your opinion, that's the holdup here in the Senate, and why Senator Thune says he doesn't have the votes? I've heard some, senators say, my race was won by mail-in ballots. They don't want to see restrictions on mail-in ballots. I've heard others say, look, it's too short of a, you're going to mess with the midterms. You're going to have a messy midterm. These results could be unreliable if Save America is put into place now. Maybe leave it up to the states. Maybe you leave the states alone and let them. Maybe Americans want to see the states run their elections and not have, a federal oversight like we're talking about with Save America. But those are the options. That's what I've heard. What do you say?
I think any version of Save America is a good thing. So if people have, I would say, legitimate policy concerns or operational concerns, guess what? There's an amendment process to make sure that that happens. But continuing to stand behind, I'd say, talking points and TV scripts about passing this legislation, I think is unconscionable. People need to get with the program here. This is so easy. The American people, they don't agree on much together, reds and blues and independents, but on this they do. And so where there's a will, there's a way. Go deliver these results for the American people. That's what they elected us to do, to make these difficult decisions and have these hard conversations. But to me, it's not enough to stand by and say, we're not going to do it because of X, or we're not going to do it because of Y. This is something that the American people resoundingly want. Let's go get this done. It's that simple to me.
Real quick before you go, today marks 100 days until the midterms. So here we go. Decision Desk HQ has this new poll, and this is laid out in the Hill. They say basically that the Democrats have a 60% probability of winning the lower chamber, and then Republicans have a 60% chance of holding on to the Senate. So these are tight numbers. Talk about messaging. Now that you and your colleagues are home, talk about that messaging and what is the most important thing. We keep hearing about affordability. The polls are telling us it's about health care, it's about housing. How do Republicans, message your wins and make sure that the Republicans hold on to the House come November?
Two things. For the last election cycle, last several election cycles, the media narrative and polling showed that Republicans would lose, we wouldn't win back the White House, that we would lose the Congress and lose the Senate. And Republicans have defied that. I think moving forward, the American people expected their taxes to be cut and lower. The American people expected a border to be secure. The American people expected a resurgence of American dominance and making sure that your parents could be involved in their child's education. The American people expected this and so many things. And Republicans delivered on that promise. We said that what we would do, and we went about the business of governing. That is the choice coming up, is that you have a party on the other side that has gone so far left in an attempt to show how against the president that they are, that they really are out of the mainstream of where Americans think politically. The Republicans have delivered wins, and on the other column of Democrats, what have Democrats delivered on, and what is their promise for a better tomorrow? Higher taxes or a Mandami socialized America? That's not exactly what we want, and that's not what our children want. We need to go get this done, but I think the record speaks for itself. We need to go deliver that message.
Congressman Russell Fry, it was great to have you on the program. Of course, we'll be watching you and your colleagues tomorrow as we celebrate the life of Senator Lindsey Graham. Sir, thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.